Hello. Are we live for real? I think we're finally live for real. Hi, happy Tuesday. Welcome back, Christy. And this is Teacher Tip Tuesday. Facebook's saying some funny things like I've been live for 18 minutes, but it's just showing me, so I'm not sure what's going on today. Anyway, welcome. Welcome back to the Academy. It's been a few weeks since we've been here. We've had a whole heck of a lot of snow here in New Jersey, and it even snowed yesterday and a little bit earlier today. So it's been a pretty crazy February around here. But I'm glad to be back here with you. And today we're talking about something that has been in the back of my mind for a few months now. I get a lot of questions from parents about certain aspects of music teachers and music schools, why they do things the way they do, and other logistical things about music lessons and the industry and teachers and everything. And I thought, why not do a live broadcast to share some of the information that I have from my years of experience here. So if you are new, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you are a regular, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is a pleasure to spend a little bit of time with you on Tuesday afternoons. So what we're going to talk about is finding the right music teacher and what does and doesn't really matter in terms of what's good. We'll put it that way, in terms of what's good. There's a lot of information about choosing the right teacher, and a lot of it really ultimately starts with knowing what matters to you. What's important to you? I mean, what if you've never done this before and you don't know what matters? What if you don't care about any industry jargon and you just want to find the right fit for your child? I'm going to help you with that today. We're going to talk about 3 things that really and 3 things that really don't matter quite as much when you're looking for the right music school. So let's dive right in. By the way, if you are joining me live, please say hello. I would love to chat with you. And if you're catching this on the replay, leave me a message below. I always go back and check and try to keep the conversation going even after the broadcast is over. All right, you ready to dive in? We're going to start with what matters. I need one quick second to take a sip. Excuse me. I had a terrible cold last week. Warm tea just really helps me so much. All right, number 1 of what matters: knowledge. Yeah, knowledge. It's no surprise that our teachers do have to have knowledge, but not just knowledge of their instrument. They really have to know how to teach and have knowledge of teaching philosophies and teaching strategies. And there is a saying that says, those who can't teach. Well, I think the opposite is far truer. Just because someone can play an instrument or read music, that doesn't mean that they can teach. You want to find a teacher who has actually been trained to teach music and trained to teach their instrument. That's number 1 for you. Do we have? Oh, I saw something pop up. I'm sorry. Let's go on to number 2, community. Community. So, is community actually absolutely essential for learning? Not really. But is it good to have? You betcha. It absolutely is good to have. Because when you find a music school or teacher who has a strong community in their studio, you know that you are going to be surrounded with like-minded people. And those like-minded people are going to be awesome because you are awesome. Also, being surrounded by awesome people can be so incredibly motivating, which really makes learning easier. And being surrounded by people that you and your child like will make you more comfortable, which will in turn lead to greater success. So community, while not super essential, really, really does matter and helps greatly. Number 3, for what does matter, the cost. Yes, the cost of your lessons matter for a couple of reasons. And this is something that makes a lot of music teachers, and if I have any music teachers watching today, give me a little wave, a little hands up, a little something, a like, a heart, a love, whatever you want to do. Let me know if you fall in this category. Music teachers in general do not like to talk money. It's not in our bones. We don't like to talk about it because it's not why we do what we do. It's just not. We do what we do because we have a passion for music, we have a passion for learning, and we have a passion for our students, for watching them grow and learn. So, talking about money and the cost of tuition is not something that we are comfortable with. And I say we because I, yes, am in that boat. I am not comfortable talking about the cost. It is one of my least favorite parts, but it is an essential part because we all need to make money, and this is our living. And money is how we all make livings. So, the cost of your lessons matters. Here's why. The first is because you want to make sure it fits your budget. That's kind of a given, I think, for most people. But more importantly, it's because, especially in this industry, you get what you pay for. If you buy anything cheap from the dollar store, just think about the last thing that you bought from the dollar store. How long did it last? Probably not very long, right? I like to buy balloons for outside the academy. And we put them up, and if they last the whole week, I am super thrilled. Like, really super thrilled that they lasted the entire week. But most of the time, I get a couple days out of them and they've either deflated or got blown away, or some kid came along, or hooligan maybe, and decided that they liked it enough that they wanted it. But it's from the dollar store. I paid $1 for that balloon. And so I have to replace it. And it's kind of the same thing with the last thing that you bought, right? You know you're not going to get much out of it before it breaks, and you have to replace it. So when you think about that in terms of music lessons, if you go out there and you get the cheapest lessons that are available, you're really not going to get that much. You'll get your teacher's time, if they can be really called a teacher, because they might not be trained to teach. They might not even know everything there is to know about the instrument that they're teaching. But that's all you're going to get. And then, of course, there's the hidden fees that are associated with cheap music lessons, like recital fees and extra music and method books and listening materials and practice apps and so on and so on and so on. But on the flip side, if you're looking for good quality lessons and you're willing to invest a little bit more money up front for those lessons, a whole world of options becomes available to you. You get trained teachers. A lot of times, I'm seeing this more and more, the materials are included. We've always included materials, and I see a lot of other music schools doing that, and I love it. I think it is a great thing for the music world. You will get additional performance opportunities outside of the regular formal concert or recital. You'll get more than that. You'll get community. You'll get community outreach. You'll get parties. You'll get so many things. It's worth the investment. It is. And I don't just say that from the music teacher perspective. I say that from seeing so many other people go through bad experiences by price shopping and only choosing based on that. One last note about cost before we move on to what really doesn't matter all that much. If you find a school that has absolutely everything that you want, but is a little out of your price range, talk to them. Be open and honest and have a discussion with them about it. Because if they are as good as they seem on the surface, they will be willing to work with you. If they're not willing to work with you, maybe they're not as great as you thought they were. That's my little 2 cents there for that. Now let's talk about what doesn't really matter quite as much. Multiple degrees. I was always one of those education people who, I have my degree in music education. I started my career in public schools, and I always thought I need to get a master's degree, maybe 2, maybe go for a doctorate, maybe get a 3rd master's, or maybe a 2nd bachelor's in some other form of music. And I thought that was so important until I met a teacher who had an associate's degree, but really got the most out of it and kept learning outside of the structured college, university realm of education. And so while having proper training is important, having multiple degrees really isn't as important as you might think it is. Yeah, it sounds impressive, but if they don't connect with your child won't learn as well. And yes, the prestige of certain music schools is valid. But if they don't know how to properly impart their knowledge that they gained from those years of study, it really doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot. The second thing that doesn't really matter quite as much is the age and gender of your teacher. We get this one a lot here. I hear, oh, do you have a female teacher? Do you have a male teacher? My child only responds to young teachers. I can tell you from experience, I have worked with teachers who are older and younger than me as a student and as a mentor. And I have worked with teachers who are my gender and who are not my gender. In the end, it really doesn't matter. What matters is how they interact with your child. What matters is how they teach the materials. And what matters is how comfortable they make you and your child feel. I'm going to take a quick sip while that one sinks in. All right. The last thing that doesn't really matter as much as it might seem like it is a multi-teacher studio versus a solo teacher. This is really one of those interesting sides of the music lesson business, to me at least, because not all music teachers are good business people, and not all business people are good music teachers. So what's the difference between a solo music teacher and a multi-teacher studio? The biggest difference is in the role of the teacher. In a solo teacher, they are doing everything. When I started my teaching career outside of public schools, my private lesson career, I was a solo teacher. I taught in-home lessons, and I went from house to house, and I did all of my own marketing. I did all of my own contact. I did all of my own business, everything. Every little thing, I wore every single hat. I still wear every single hat. But now I'm the owner of a multi-teacher studio. And the difference here is that my teachers, their sole purpose, the only focus that they have is their students and their teaching. That's it. That's really the only difference between going to a solo teacher and going to a multi-teacher studio. If you find a good quality solo teacher and a good quality multi-teacher studio. If you don't, it's kind of a crapshoot. So that's everything for today. Let's do a really, really quick recap. We're talking about what does and doesn't really matter when choosing a music school or a music teacher for private lessons for your child. So the first thing that does matter is knowledge. Do they know their instrument? Do they know how to teach? Those are important questions to ask. Number two is community. While community is not absolutely essential for learning, it really is good to have. It gives you a good surrounding, which makes learning easier and more enjoyable. The third thing that does matter is the cost, because one, you want to make sure that it's in your budget, but two, you want to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck. And sometimes that means putting out a little more upfront so that you don't have any back end fees and so that you're getting good quality. Three things that don't matter quite so much are multiple music degrees, because life is learning and life is lessons. And sometimes we can get more out of that than we can out of a formal degree. Age and gender. Your child may be more comfortable with a younger person or a person of the same gender, but really, if they're a good teacher, that is not going to matter in the least. And the third is a multi-teacher versus solo teacher. It all comes down to who's running the business, who's doing the teaching. Is it one person doing it all? Or is your teacher solely focused on teaching? So that's it. That is everything from me today. I feel like this was a little longer than normal. I hope that you got a lot out of this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you have anything to add to this, maybe you've had an experience that I didn't discuss today, let me know. Put that down in the comments below and I will check it out and we will keep the conversation going. But for now, I see my next student is waiting outside for me, so I'm gonna go and teach some lessons today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next week. Bye, everyone.